The Data Protection Bill recognizes that Kenyan citizens have the right to privacy of their personal details, communication networks, or their family members. According to American-based ICT experts, the enactment into law of the Data Protection Bill is intertwined with Article 31 of the 2010 Constitution of Kenya, which stipulates that every person has the right to privacy.
The data protection legislation must contain three really key fundamental principles. You know, the first one being protection or meaningful protection and rights given to individuals and users. And those, include and are not limited to the right to ask for correction of information about you that has been collected.
According to Mozilla Company policy advisor Alice Munyua, public and private sectors organizations should take responsibility for the personal information they collect from individuals.
We need to have, a law, for example, the statute law that, created NIMS. We would need that developed into primary law that would, really expound on who has control of that data, who's responsible for that data, how that data is going to be secure.
She says organizations should have clear policies that allow Kenyans to keep track of the information entrusted to them and give them the right to modify, change, or delete from the organization's database.
We talk about number portability in this country, but also data portability. I might decide I want to move from one bank to another. I should have the right to say, Standard Chartered Bank, you have this information about me. Please send that information to Kenya Commercial Bank because I'm moving banks. And
experts say that regardless of one's social status, online fraudsters can impersonate innocent Kenyans and commit crimes using their identifications. Imagine when you go to apply for your driver's license or you order for something or a product from the online stores, you are required to enter your information, and questions abound. Where does this information go? Who uses it? Where is it stored?
When people are putting their information in mobile apps, they should be asking more questions about who is getting access to that information and where is it going, because currently many companies are not disclosing what they're doing with that. And actually what is happening is that information is being shared with lenders, with insurance companies, with government, and that information is then being used in ways that people don't understand and in ways that could actually have very big implications for their lives.
Munyua says there are some Kenyans who do not understand the implications of what they fill in questionnaires and online platforms.
Very good evening to you. That is just a sneak preview of what we will be discussing today on Beyond the Headlines. Of course, this month, which is October, we are actually marking the Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And the theme that is there this year is Own It, Secure It, and Protect It. All that has got a lot to do with your use of the internet, the use of your phone, anything that actually is online. And we're talking about 3.48 billion people across the globe who are users of social media. So just how really can you secure your social media space? How can you protect yourself? Those are just some of the issues that we will be looking at, both from an individual perspective as well as from the corporate perspective. But before I introduce you to the guests who are with me in studio this evening to discuss more about your cyberspace, let me quickly cross over to Jane, who is on the other side of the studio, where she can give you some of the lines where you can interact with us and give us your feedback. Over to you, Jane, and good evening to you.
Thank you and good evening. Welcome once again to Beyond the Headlines. My name is Jen Boy. As aforementioned, today we're going to be looking at the state of cybersecurity here in Kenya, given we're in October, which is also known as the National Cybersecurity Awareness Month here in Kenya. And we just want to take stock of how far we have come and what more we need to do from all the relevant stakeholders. We all have a role to play from the government when it comes to policies and laws and bills that are pending, down to you as an individual when it comes to taking personal responsibility of how you use the cyberspace. That is a discussion that we welcome you to be part of, and you can talk to us using our communication platforms. On Twitter, the hashtag is Beyond the Headlines. That is in full, Beyond the Headlines. Our official station handle ever remains at KBC Television. You can also tag us as well. My handle is Jenwon Boy, and my colleague, you can find her as Kato Achenga on Twitter. SMS number up and running 20154 is the number. Do leave a name and location, and please start your messages with the word Channel 1 to help us get all those messages. But before I hand you over back to the other side of the studio, just to let you know that we have broken another record, and this time by Bridget Kosgei in the Chicago Marathon. She actually broke the record in a record time of 2 hours, 14 minutes, and 4 seconds, a record that stood for 16 years. It was previously held by Paula Radcliffe. So, kudos to Bridget for bringing home another title. And someone was actually saying, why are we breaking so many records, man? We're on a roll.
We are dominating the tracks.
Yeah. So congratulations to Bridget. We'll be bringing you more of that in the Darwini News and, of course, Channel 1 News Hour. So keep it here to catch up with all that and so much more. But for now, matters of cybersecurity. Back to you, Catherine.
Well, thank you very much, Jane. Of course, we are discussing cybersecurity, so let me just quickly bring you up to speed on the guests who we have in studio this evening to help us understand some of these issues. I'll begin on my immediate left, where, of course, we have with us David Musia, who is a pre-sales engineer. It's good to have you, Dave. Next to him is Athena Morgan, who is a legal tech consultant. It's good to have you, Athena.
Yeah.
And we have Onyimbo Shalom, who is the assurance services consultant. Good to have you. And lastly, we have with us Alex Manyasi, who is a governance expert and our resident analyst. Alex, it's good to have you. All right, we are all talking about cybersecurity. It's the Cybersecurity Awareness Month. But what is cybersecurity? David.
Thank you. To me, cybersecurity is the aspect of just being able to protect what matters to you. The data that is out there, from, let's say, from around 2000, with the advent of internet at around 1990, there has been a lot of growth, and then a lot of our data is just resting somewhere where we do not know, or even within our devices, our servers and everything, it's still accessible remotely, or even just on a corporate setup by another person from your phone without your passwords and everything. Someone else can access it. That's some data around it.
All right. Athena, if we look at the cyberspace today, can we say we grew faster than the laws did? Because we talk about cyberspace, cybersecurity, but do we have laws to back this up?
Thank you for the opportunity. Yes, we did grow faster than the laws did, but that happens to be the case in almost all of Africa, because you'd find that out of the 54 states, only 17 countries have a cybersecurity law in place. So yes, we have grown faster, and technology will always be a step ahead of the law somehow. But now the law is playing catch up, and I'd say right now, so far so good. We have the Cyber Protection Bill, for the Cyber Protection Act that came into place in April, and now we are discussing the Data Protection Bill. Yes. So yeah, we are heading towards the right direction legally. Yes.
But how safe is our data as of now?
How safe is our data? Well, that could be answered both from a personal perspective and also from a national perspective. From a personal perspective?
More from a legal perspective.
From a legal, personal perspective, yes. There are laws right now that are attempting to protect the data and controlling how much data you're giving out there. The only problem is that people are still ignorant of these laws, so that they may not know how to take action should they find themselves in a position of data breach.
We'll be talking about cyberbullying later on in terms of protecting ourselves. But Onyimbo, what do the numbers look like in terms of the penetration of the penetration of internet rather, and also use of phones? Smartphones?
The use of smartphones over the years has grown exponentially. Over 15 years ago, we could not probably take a selfie and share it with our friends across the globe. But now it's easy that even a border person could actually use the internet and get a customer from any of the buildings around CBD or anywhere. So in terms of penetration, Kenya is doing well, much more than other East African nations, and we we're actually taking over the cyberspace. I'll say that. Yeah.
We're taking over the cyberspace. As we take over the cyberspace, Alex, are we also alive to some of the dangers that are lacking within that cyberspace? The level of awareness?
Unfortunately, most of the times Kenyans walk ahead of themselves in many aspects, in good manners, in bad manners, in adopting to new things. Kenyans are very well known for that, which to a certain extent is also good. Kenyans are aggressive, but in terms of the understanding of the implications of that, some of the things that we do, probably that's where I get a challenge from, because and this, of course, all issues of cyber security and data protection and everything else, of course, is a constitutional issue. We're looking at Article 2 and Article 31.
31, yeah.
That is where the basis of our discussion in terms of as a country, in terms of legality, start from. But as a country, I think, just like he said, in the region, we could be very far. But whether that has been beneficial or not is debatable. And I have said before that a country like Cuba, for example, has almost no access to Wi-Fi, and yet they are exporting doctors to Kenya. So how has the country progressed in terms of getting some of these accesses help us proceed much faster? As a country, we are still focused on very traditional ways of looking at things. Our training, the type of courses that we offer, and everything else that goes with that is still very traditional. And yet we have a lot of we have this space that can help us progress much faster. And just to add on that, if you look at the education sector, for example, I like giving this example because to me it doesn't make sense. The budget for the education sector is highest in the country today. The teacher child ratio is still the lowest, and yet we can use technology to actually have the least number of teachers reaching the highest number of pupils and save more on education. And yet, so those are things that probably we, as a country, we do not capitalize on, to actually capitalize on using technology to make things easier, to make it possible to use less, to save and put money in areas that will make more sense in terms of the economy.
In terms of the economy. All right. I want us to first approach this from a personal perspective in terms of what would you say constitutes a safe online space for anyone? Because we always see people posting literally everything about their lives. Is that safe?
To me, what would constitute safe posting, safe sharing?
Online behavior.
Safe online behavior. So it would be just share as little as what you want to achieve. Because out there, this just so another Mozilla post, and then they're saying with the big tech companies, it is that they offer all you all these services now, the Facebook and the likes and Google, because you don't pay to get all these to browse and get everything. You do it free, but I'm extracting data from you. I'm just looking at what you like so that I can do you the hands, and so the hands with it's more of I'm persuading you to do something, maybe to purchase something, maybe to behave in a certain way. At the other end, Facebook now still does that for the what. And that's why we're having even some other the DuckDuckGo, whereby you can do safe browsing without having trackers and everything that are just monitoring your social behavior.
So how do you know you're in a safe, site?
How do you know you're in a safe site? That should
like what you're browsing is safe.
One, it should be the presence of a HTTPS and the green icon. But right now, the phishing, 58% of the phishing sites have that icon. So we are moving at a world whereby, because they also can get access to these certificates.
Yes.
So the question around how you would know that you're on a safe site still is not very clear, because Internet is just another world whereby even the guy that you're looking at could be as a nice guy, still has another part of him that you do not know. Yeah.
So it's still 50-50 in terms of safety.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Athena, in terms of when you want to get, when you want to sue someone, perhaps for something that you posted online or what we've seen, the cyberbullying, are we already seeing people beginning to know that you can sue someone from something that they posted about you online?
Yes, you can. Legally, there are provisions for defamation, like when you talk ill and untrue things about, let's say, a famous person or a popular person. Such laws have been in existence for a while. The new Computer and Cybercrimes Act has brought in the aspect of cyberbullying, whereby right now, if you're caught having cyberbullied or an accomplice to that, you also face jail term or a certain fine of a certain amount.
But are we seeing prosecutions and people actually going to court because the laws are there?
It's just started. For cyberbullying, for example, we know about the case that we were talking about a few weeks ago. The case is still being followed in court. And that is the first, we hope, of the many cases where we'll start seeing people coming up and saying, this and this has happened to me, and I'd like the law to come in place for me. But also you'll see most of the popular, the famous people on the social media space, most of the time they don't do these things publicly. Once they face an issue, especially if it's not become full-blown, you'll find that they go and deal it with the security officers independently. So you'll find someone has gone and filed a police case, the person who did that is called in, either the posts are pulled down and they have some off-book kind of arrangement kind of thing. So people are still not doing it in the mainstream.
In the mainstream.
Yes.
All right. In terms of the do's and don'ts, what would you advise someone on a personal level when they come to using the cyberspace?
One, in an office environment, do not take photos of office property, because that alone is enough for a cyber attacker to actually compromise your whole organization. For example, you're sitting on your desk and you take a photo while your computer is on behind and you have information on your desk. That alone is enough for your competitors to send phishing emails and pose as the director, saying you have this information about the company, send it to this other email. And before you know it, you start that interaction. And before you know it, you escalate to something else and your organization can get compromised. Also, when you post, to limit information you share, do not enable your location, because when you take a photo, metadata is added to your photos. And data brokers on the internet are people who analyze the internet. They are able to get more information about you when you take photos. Through that, I could tell where you live, where you work, where you go to shop, where you go to church, where you go to the mosque. So limit the kind of information you put online. I will give that.
Are we doing that, Alex? Are we limiting the information? Because we simply say, I'm at the lake and,
Yeah, unfortunately not, and especially the social media users in Kenya, and especially the young people. It's a disaster. That's why I'm saying, I said that sometimes you look at the things that people post and you pity them, because even a few years down the line, they will look back and I'm not sure whether they'll have regrets or not. But the things that people do, which unfortunately cannot be, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, cannot be done away with.
They say the internet doesn't forget.
Yes. and therefore, the little caution that we're just supposed to take as human beings, most of the times we don't. Mobile phones have not helped much, because right now the phones that we have can do so much. You can have a very basic phone, basic smartphone, but what it can do is so much. Sometimes I look at my phone and I don't think I even know 90% of what my phone can do. And therefore, for those other people who have the time to actually, or the expertise or the ability to use their phones more, you can imagine what they're able to do. Every Sunday you pass through this town. I don't know what happens on Sundays. People are taking pictures everywhere. People are posing all over the place. I do not know what they do. Most of the time I have not bothered to check. But if you wanted to track a person like that, I guess it's very easy to even know what they do, what time they wake up, what they do every day.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate bit is that maybe fortunately, that also helps the security agencies if you do something for them to catch up very easily with you.
You're exposing yourself.
Yes, right. and so even enabling, using Google Maps, something that we do. I sometimes use it when I'm going to a place that I'm not sure about. That alone, for instance, yes, it's a tool that helps me navigate different places, but at the same time, I cannot deny not having been in a place. And so even someone who has access to my information and has bad intentions, it's very easy for them to track you up and even find out as much information as possible. So yes, we are in this space, it's good, but at the same time it's extremely risky in terms of what you are able to expose yourself to.
So what are some of the risks that you know he's talking about, some of the common internet scams that we should be aware about?
From the very basic, one of them would be the normal ones, whereby this guy calls you from your Safaricom line. Hello, David. Yeah, I work at Safaricom. And then that is called smishing. We have a vishing with a V, whereby a person will send you a text message trying to solicit for more information. Such information now would help them do an identity.
So they steal your identity.
Yeah, they steal your identity. I can now impersonate you, and then you're going to a site whereby you're subscribing to receive news from KBC, then you've Citizen, then you've a number of channels. And what these guys do is that one of them would need one of your name. The other thing would need a bit of another information. Another channel would need another bit. How you do not know, they might be working together in the dark world now. They're collecting bits of information that if this old profile is now created, this is now the whole David Musia. I know him, I know where he was, I have a bit of his pictures and everything. So from the risk that we expose ourselves to is that am I sharing enough than I need to accomplish what I want? Yeah. So just share enough just have enough of what you want to accomplish. Yeah.
What about when you know perhaps you want to buy something using a credit card? How do you guard against that? How do they get to know your password and that kind of thing? Perhaps I'll throw it to you.
It's a two-way street. Yes, security starts from us, but we also need to, the people in which we give our credit cards to, that is the online services, need to take care of security as well. I could have a secure channel where I'm using the HTTPS, I'm using a VPN, but when I enter those credentials on the site, how am I sure that site has not been compromised? So yes, I did the due diligence to make sure my password and my emails go to the right customer, but are these online services actually protecting their back end? Are we sure they're the only ones seeing this data? Yeah, so I will put it in that way that we all have a role to play. As me being the one subscribing to this online service and also the online service providers.
Okay. We've seen people's identity stolen like he talked about. But once your identity is stolen, what are some of the legal mechanisms that you can use to get these people? Because most of the time people just post on social media that is not my account. You ask the provider to bring it down, but legally, how can you protect yourself?
The clearest and the easiest way to do that is to liaise with a platform in which your identity has been compromised from, first of all. So for example, if it's Facebook, you could report. They even have the option of reporting that any issues that you face. So if it's an identity theft issue, first of all, you're in Kenya. Probably the person who's even stolen your identity is in the US. So legally in the country, it will be hard to follow up on this person. But if you follow up with the platform in which your information has been tampered with, that makes it easier for you to get to the right course of action. That is why there is the terms of use or the policies in every social media platform that people are always encouraged to be aware of. And secondly, to add on to what they were just saying, there's the issue of predictability on social media.
Yeah.
And that is when we know every Sunday, this is where you go from 10 to 11, then from 2 to 3, this is where you're at. I will say it's not wrong to share information about a certain thing that is special to you, like a certain event you went to on a Sunday. But don't make it predictable to the extent that I know if I want to find Vicky, every Sunday or every Tuesday, this is the place that I'll find her. That makes it easier for people to be able to track you, or to bully you, or to steal your identity, or anything else. Or even for kids, it's easier for them to get malaligned or sent to different sites that are not healthy for them. So first of all is the issue of predictability. Secondly, the issue of the space that you're using. You have personal data providers, like the Safaricom, the Zuko, and all that, we know of them. But when you're in a public place, especially when the Wi-Fi is open, you're normally advised not to use that to do especially personal transactions, like using of your credit card or subscribing to things that contain personal information. Because that one, in an open Wi-Fi, I'm sure the techies would tell us, it's very, very easy for anyone to just pass through the simple security measures that are there and get to your information easier.
So, Alex, how do you draw the line between, marketing, like she says, and also protecting your data? Because sometimes you've gone to, perhaps you visited a hotel. When you get home, you see, thank you for visiting this and that hotel. It means someone was stalking you, so to speak, on the internet. So how do you draw the line between now the company is just trying to get data to know who they are targeting as their clients, and also your personal security?
I'm not a tech person, but what I have seen happen is that sometimes even before you access Wi-Fi, you need to agree to terms and conditions. So most of the times you don't check what that means.
David is laughing. Maybe he'll tell us.
And most of the times, even some of the things that we access, the terms and conditions is even checked way before you even finish what you're doing. So curiously, that is what gives them the right to get information about you and send you feedback, and sometimes share that information. So it's something that we voluntarily get ourselves into, and therefore legally there's not much you can do, because if someone was to, assuming you are to make noise about that kind of thing and you agree to it, so there's not much that as a person you can do.
What about the targeted marketing?
In terms of marketing,
when you start browsing, maybe you're looking for a car, then every other time when you log in, you'll see advertisements about cars. It's almost as if someone knows you're looking for a car.
Yes, I guess it could be in the same line. I'm not sure. It could be in the same line, but anytime we access certain information and they ask you, for example, if you will be willing to want such kind of information in future, and assuming that is already checked and you say yes to it, so ultimately that information is already shared by that group of interests that you already have agreed to. So ultimately you start getting prompts on things that you didn't imagine you had said yes to, but you had voluntarily actually did.
He'll tell us how they do that, but for now we want to take a quick break. Of course, our discussion is cybersecurity, given that this month we are marking the Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So stay tuned. When we come back, of course, Jen will be giving us your feedback. Welcome back. If you're joining us, you're watching Beyond the Headlines, our discussion today touching on cybersecurity, and you can get some tips on how you can protect yourself on the online space. Of course, I'm talking to David Musia, who is a pre-sales engineer in the IT space. We have Athena Morgan, who is a legal tech consultant, Onyimbo Shalom, who is assurance services consultant, as well as Alex Manyasi, who is a governance expert and our resident analyst. Now it's time for us to hear from you. So I'll be going over to Jane, who is on the other side of the studio, to give us your feedback. Over to you, Jane.
Yes, the hashtag is Beyond the Headlines. Let me get straight to it. I'll start with the ones that we received earliest. So let me zoom that in. All right, so the first one was from Shi Wambiro, who says, it's the best month by far, the Cybersecurity Awareness Month. It's time to create some awareness and let everyone know the importance of cybersecurity and also the merits and demerits of the internet, all right? We have Salah, who says, let me get that. Where is it? As my screen misbehaves. Yes, here we go. Salah, who says, or rather asks, can digital assets, that is, things like data, digital media, the computer, and network infrastructure be insured? If not, why not? All right. Sandy says personal responsibility needs to come first, even before the government can do anything. Prevention is better than cure for cybersecurity because the cost of a successful attack can be astronomical. Big word. Even if it's mitigated quickly. All right. We have Carolina, who is saying, we are definitely not limiting anything on social media these days, and we need to be more careful, especially with posting our children online. And this is very true, because I can tell you how some people's houses look just from what they post on social media. I can even navigate my way through. We have one more from Cree, who is saying, securing data requires you understand the life cycle of the data you are responsible for, where it goes, and how it is going to be used, and what controls are in place to protect it. This is in regards to now the marketing that comes after you sort of search for something online. So that is what we have so far. I believe our panelists are going to be able to address this and much more that you'll be sending through using the hashtag Beyond the Headlines. Back to you, Chenga.
Well, thank you, Jane, for that feedback. And I'll just quickly begin with you. What is your immediate reaction, to the feedback from the Kenyans, the issue about ensuring your cyberspace and the fact that we put everything out there, including, I don't want to say what.
So, actually, I think the response is quite a good one. Just from one of the person over the other end was said, we should just understand that it's not even as we receive all this marketing, we've subscribed to them through how we have shared. And the question about the digital assets and the insurance of the digital assets, I'm not sure about that. Maybe one of my colleagues
will tell us.
from the lawyers will be able to respond to that. At the Cybersecurity Month, I wouldn't know how many people already knew about that. But it's a time when you can even go check that out, how you can go in and protect yourself, the very basics that everyone is even capable of doing from the very start. Yeah.
Still on that, the question about the marketing. Yeah. I mean, how is it that they're able to know what you're looking for? It was something we were talking about before the break. And you mentioned something about cookies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So any other time, in most of the cases, when you visit sites, is that they will always tell you to optimize how you utilize the site is that we use cookies. So these guys store some information within your PC. So with these, I can now track where what you clicked on, You are maybe on a site. Let's say you are on Twitter, and then you clicked on a Mercedes Benz. The other time you're on a hoodie. And so the next time you access the site, the first thing that will be coming up is what you actually did last time, because you already have some bit about you, about your likes, your dislikes, and all about that. So they'll now be targeting, they'll now be throwing information towards the same end. It's now this month, you can buy these toys, you can buy everything, and now it's targeted now. And that's why Google will always ask you, we are doing personalized ads. Do you want this one to be changed? And now they will ask you a reason. So they now know next time they will be bringing you something different. Not that they have kicked you out from now targeting you.
Yeah. Isn't that the same as stalking, Athena?
Let's say this this is talking that you have given them permission to. After all, these sites at the end of the day need to make money to sustain themselves. So on the social media platforms, ads is the main way of generating cash for themselves. It's like TV. You make ads, that's how you raise your money. Yeah? So these ads, when they're specialized or sent to you because based on your likes, it also assists the social medias keep on running, first of all.
Okay.
And secondly, the cookies, it's something that we agree to knowingly, or some people just ignore it and say, I accept, and you don't even know what you've accepted. Then on the issue of insurance, I am not very sure what this person will want insured. Like, for example, if you put your photo up there, it's social media, you've put it out there because you want people to see it. Meaning I can take a screenshot of it or I can download it. But there is also the aspect of, it's not really insurance, but it's protection. We call it intellectual property, whereby when you come up with something new or that is on the internet or in the cyberspace, you can protect it from being copied or distributed without your permission. That is a form of insurance on the online platform, but that is something you have to apply for. But if it's something you're sharing on the social media platform, you're the one who's already said, hey guys, check this out.
You've taken responsibility for it on a personal level. All right. I want us to talk about if it's possible to be a ghost online, but, but still, know what's happening out there.
To completely be a ghost, that would be impossible. But I would say there are measures and practices that you can take to ensure that data about you is limited. First step is mind what you post online. Don't post personal things about you, your workplace, your families. Also, when you browse on certain sites, you don't just accept all cookies, because how you get tracked is when you accept those cookies, they store metadata on your browser. And when you visit other sites, even applications such as your ad blocker could actually take a bit from those cookies. In this form, you can use it as biscuits. Take a bit of those cookies and make a profile about you. If you would ask yourself, how is it that Facebook was able to make millions of dollars over the Cambridge Analytica scandal?
Yes.
Does that mean that we are the product? What is this information we are giving out? If I could sit in my house and get a lot of millions of dollars by posting, I would. But apparently a lot of data companies are doing that. Another thing you should take, another step you should take is when you're browsing, use script blockers to block what we call JavaScripts that are running behind sites.
Okay.
To not take much of your cookies, or you could limit it from interacting with your browsing experience. Also, when you download apps, there are certain apps that require crazy permissions. For example, why would a flashlight request permission to your phone contacts? Why would a flashlight want your Wi-Fi connection? And for a lot of users, when you get to YouTube and you see a lot of ads, you ask yourself, why am I receiving so much kid game ads? Probably because your kid was using your phone to browse. So script blockers could protect you from that as well. Also, mind the permissions you put. For our viewers, you could visit the site wiggle.net, and you'll be able to see that you could actually track your home Wi-Fi. It's on a map. So wiggle.net actually creates a map of all Wi-Fi locations globally. So with wiggle.net, let's say if I created a Wi-Fi at the KBC studio, and I go home and I created the same hotspot and I go another place, wiggle.net is able to track those locations I've been. So becoming a ghost is about metadata. What kind of metadata do you leave?
But can you erase what perhaps you had already posted, even as you now protect yourself going forward?
Some sites allow you to do that, while some do not. For example, the NSA collects data on everyone and every search engine, and it tracks it to your location and possibly to the asset, which is your computer or your phone. That's browsing. So yes, you can limit it, but entirely no.
Once
you might have
get in
to.
There's no exit plan.
Yeah.
Alex, with no exit plan, I mean, What would you do if you know your account is now being hacked? Now, where you are, there is no turning back.
I think what he's saying is very scary, to say the least. And I think probably our security agencies are dumb. That's why they're not able to get hold of people like now. But what I can say is that, just like I said before, I think the most precaution is probably everything, so that you're not posting things that you do not regret much later. There's a time I had a Facebook account when I was like 10 years ago. And when I look back at, it wasn't like they were weird, but the type of pictures I was posting then,
you were still young
at the beach and stuff like that. Yeah, and I actually closed it down and opened a different Facebook account. What surprised me is that people will still access those pictures. And so that tells you that what you post today, even though you close it down and run away from it, that information is still available for access to people, even though you will have closed it down and probably think that you have moved on from what you had posted before. And therefore, precaution, like I said, just do not put yourself out there when you're not sure that that's exactly what you want to live with in the next 50 years.
Athena, can I sue a friend who posts pictures about me without really asking me?
It depends. If it's a photo that I had shared and then you took it and shared it.
Now, we were in the same function, and then we took a photo and then you decided to post it online. You never asked me.
No, you couldn't, because first of all, it's assumed that this is your friend. By the time you are agreeing to take a photo, that is also consent. So by the time you're sharing it on, but now the question would be if the photo is very compromising, like it's unethical or something like that. Now that could be. So there was a time one of our very famous media personalities did something funny in a pool, and a friend shared, and it was very embarrassing. Such a situation, you could find a ground for suing, but if it's just a normal photo, you being in the photo is consent in the first place.
It's considered consent. All right, our time is up. But quickly, what would you tell people to guard themselves against, even as we mark, the Cybersecurity Month awareness? What should they be cautious about?
Basically, the very first bit would be your name, your images on the internet, some bit about where you live, some bit about, you see, you post on Facebook, I'm going next week, I'm going to Malindi, I'll be having a what? Be on the beach, yeah. So that will be some of the bit that you need to just make sure that legally is known. What do I want to accomplish in this sharing? And should I share more so that I accomplish what I want? Or if by sharing less, can I still get what I want? Yeah.
Alex, as we give you, your closing remarks, does, when a spouse gets into your phone and goes in there, is that cyber insecurity? Would you consider cyber insecurity?
That's a very interesting question. Personal information is actually protected under law. And so that's why even security agencies will require to get an order for them to access personal information. And that is under Article 31. If you look at that, then no one is allowed to access your personal information unless you have given consent or unless they're investigating you, and therefore they need to get an order for that. However, the only time that security agencies have a lot of leeway is on terrorism matters. On that, they can actually track everything that you're trying to do because it's assumed that prevention of terrorism is probably more paramount than trying to deal with a criminal act.
Okay.
And so personal information is not something that someone should have leeway to access. However, like we have said, that does not mean that you become careless and say that no one will have access to my information, because unfortunately, like she said, if someone is accessing your information and they're in the US, then how do you even prosecute them in the first place?
All right. Spine, as your last comment, in regard to what I'm saying, and just the awareness that you'd want people to take home today as regards protection of their own data?
Most importantly, limit what you share online, and be cautious. Always be security cautious online. You know, when someone texts you, yes, I am your brother, send me money, call the person to confirm. You know, when you get a fake or a money transfer alert, verify. You know, we always say trust, but verify the trust.
Okay. Athena, your closing remarks in terms of our safety.
Yeah, for me, cybersecurity could mean something different for specific groups, which I deal with. For children, cybersecurity would mean being able to explore the internet in a safe environment without them getting radicalized or into negative behavior. For youth, cybersecurity would mean a safe platform where they can learn, they can grow and get empowered. For persons with disability, cybersecurity would mean ease of access to services without sharing their personal information with someone else, to be able to access the space. And finally, for indigenous people, cybersecurity will be able to is ability to protect their own indigenous culture. For the issue, like the issue of Hakuna Matata, it's locally Kenyan, but since someone else already took a patent on it, see, that is cyber insecurity for an indigenous group or an indigenous language. So that is what cybersecurity would mean for indigenous groups.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you all very much. Our time is up, but we appreciate all the insights that you've given us, how to protect our space. We do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Of course, we've been talking to David Musia, who is a pre-sales engineer. We had Athena Morgan, who is a legal tech consultant. We also had with us Onyembe Shalom, who is an assurance services consultant. And lastly, we had with us Alex Manyasi, who is a governance expert and our resident analyst. My name is Catherine Achenga. Thank you for watching Beyond the Headlines. Let me cross over to Jane to give us your final feedback before we completely wrap up the show. Jane?
Actually, we'll just wrap it all up at that point. That was such a fantastic discussion. We do hope that you learned a thing or two when it comes to cybersecurity and what more you need to do as an individual. My name is Jen Wamboy. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing. We have Darabini coming up in a bit, so do stay with us. Good evening and good night.